Today, we're diving into a powerhouse hormone that honestly shapes so much of how we feel, how we think, and even how we age. And the wild part? Most people have never even heard of it. We are talking about DHEA. You ever just stop and wonder about this? It's something pretty much all of us experience. That slow, gradual feeling of not being quite as sharp or as energetic as we used to be. Well, it turns out this isn't just some random part of getting older. A massive piece of this puzzle is the natural decline of one specific, absolutely crucial hormone. And that hormone is dehydroepiandrosterone, or DHEA for short, thank goodness. Now, this is the most abundant steroid hormone we have. And all that really means is it's a messenger molecule. Think of it like the ultimate raw material. It's the master building block your body uses to create other essential hormones. The fact that we have so much of it tells you just how incredibly important it is. So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at why it's called a master hormone. Then we'll get into what it actually does. We're also going to uncover a really surprising link to mood, see how it's used by doctors, and finally, we'll bust some common myths you really need to know about. All right, first up, let's really dig into why DHEA gets this title of master hormone. It truly sits at the foundation of our entire hormonal system. You know, this timeline pretty much maps out our own lives, doesn't it? We hit our DHEA peak in our mid-20s, which is a big reason that's often a time of peak energy and vitality. But then, right around age 30, it starts this steady, relentless decline. And by later in life, our levels can literally plummet to just 10 to 20% of what they used to be. That dramatic drop-off is a huge reason we start to feel its absence. Okay, so what is DHEA actually doing for us while it's on that slow decline? You can really think of it as this multi-talented hero, just working quietly behind the scenes. So one of its most immediate and noticeable benefits is supporting mental alertness. You know that feeling of just being on, super focused, sharp, and clear throughout the day? Yeah, DHEA is a major player in making that happen. And here you can see just how wide its influence is. As a pro-hormone, it's the raw material for other key players like testosterone and estrogen. But its job doesn't stop there. It also directly impacts our mood, our brain function, how we handle stress, and that general sense of vitality that we're all looking for. It's truly a hormonal jack of all trades for our well-being. Okay, now this is where things get really fascinating. Let's look at the hard science, specifically DHEA's powerful connection to our mental health, which, as it turns out, has been explored in some pretty major clinical research. This quote from a study in a major psychiatric journal really sets the stage. They found that DHEA wasn't just some potential add-on therapy. It showed real promise as a monotherapy, and that means a standalone treatment for the kind of depression that often hits in midlife.
Not today. Nope. Depression ain't bringing me down.
And that's exactly what this landmark study did. The researchers gave DHEA to patients with midlife depression who were not on any other antidepressants. They wanted to isolate it to see what DHEA could do all by itself. And the result? It was absolutely staggering. After just 6 weeks, patients saw their depression scores cut in half, a 50% reduction. I mean, this wasn't just a minor tweak. For so many people, that's a completely life-changing improvement, and it really revealed the profound potential DHEA has to impact our mood. Okay, so we've seen the powerful science. But how does this translate from a research paper into the real world, into clinical practice? How do knowledgeable providers actually take this information and use it to help people? Well, first things first, not all DHEA is created equal. The standard stuff, the immediate release form, gives you this quick spike, but then it wears off really fast. That's exactly why a lot of clinicians prefer a sustained release, or SR formula. It gives you a much steadier, longer-lasting effect, which is perfect for maintaining that mental sharpness and mood stability all day long. So this is what it looks like when a clinician who knows their stuff manages it. They'll almost always start with a low dose, maybe 10 milligrams, and then adjust it based on your lab results and how you're feeling. For men, the goal is often to restore those levels back to that youthful, optimal range of around 500 to 600. This whole process just goes to show why monitoring is so critical. You've got to use the lab tests and watch for little side effects, like acne, which can be a sign the dose is a bit too high. Now, because DHEA is a hormone, it is, of course, surrounded by a lot of myths, and it absolutely requires a responsible approach. So let's clear up some of the most important things you need to know. Okay, here is a big one. So many people think DHEA is just a shortcut to boosting testosterone. But the reality is, for a lot of people, it doesn't really raise testosterone all that much. It should not be your main strategy if that's your only goal. And on the caution side of things, the most common side effect is acne, especially at higher doses. This is the exact reason why that start low and go slow approach under a doctor's care is so important. So if you're curious about your own levels, what are the smart, responsible next steps? Well, first consider a simple blood test just to see where your baseline is. Second, and this one is absolutely crucial, find a provider who really, truly understands hormone optimization, because not all of them do. And third, get really clear on your own goals. Knowing whether you're aiming for a better mood, more energy, or sharper focus is going to guide the entire process. DHEA is just one fascinating piece of this giant puzzle of our health. So if you enjoyed connecting the dots between hormones, mood, and just overall vitality, make sure to subscribe. We are always exploring new pieces of that puzzle. Thanks so much for watching this Within You Health production.